Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding for the Right Worshipful, the Lord Mayor of Portsmouth, Councillor Rob Wood, and the Lady Mayoress, Mrs Deborah Wood.
Welcome to our first council meeting back in the Guildhall. The law now requires that members are present in the room to make formal decisions at meetings, and I am delighted to welcome colleagues here today. I now invite the group leaders to introduce their new councillors and request that each new councillor stands when their name is called. Can I remind members to switch their microphone on when speaking and switch them straight off afterwards? Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Councillor George Fielding, and I'm the Labour Group leader. Charlotte Gerarda's family history in Portsmouth stems back to Malta, where both her parents are from. Moving here in the late 1970s, her grandfather worked at the dockyard as a rigger. Charlotte is proud of the jobs her parents had that kept the city going, her dad being a local bus driver and her mum a seamstress. Charlotte attended two local state schools, Corpus Christi and St Edmunds. Charlotte went on to South Downs College to study her A-levels. Unfortunately, during her time there, her father was diagnosed with a rare genetic incurable disease, Huntington's disease. This threw her world upside down at a critical juncture, but thanks to the support of a fantastic sociology teacher, she was guided about what to do next, as she was expected to receive top grades. Realising her passion for politics, wanting to make a positive difference in the world, her teacher helped her apply to the London School of Economics. When Charlotte realised she couldn't afford to move to London, her teacher supported her to apply for a scholarship. Charlotte secured an unconditional place at LSE for social policy and with politics, with their most generous scholarship. Charlotte was the first person in her family to go to university. Upon graduating, Charlotte was proud to become General Secretary of the LSE Students' Union. Charlotte helped navigate the Students' Union during a very turbulent, politically intense year, spending most of her weeks campaigning and protesting against the tripling of tuition fees. Charlotte then completed a Master's from University College London in Public Policy and used her passion, skills and experience for good working in non-profits for almost a decade. Charlotte led digital campaigns while working at 38 Degrees, advocating for Irish women survivors of institutional abuse, and more recently held a public affairs role at the housing charity Shelter. Charlotte took up leadership roles within campaigns inside and outside of work while in London on a wide range of issues. Charlotte is most proud of securing £125 million in the 2017 autumn budget for low-income renters while working for Shelter, and winning a campaign that prevented the bulldozing of an LGBT+ pub in East London. Charlotte returned home to Portsmouth almost 3 years ago, settling in Southsea with her partner and her new addition, Gino, her French bulldog. While living back home, Charlotte has ploughed herself into her community, serving it in every way she can, from becoming a school governor for a local school to co-founding the Portsmouth Coronavirus Support Group in response to the pandemic that has over 10,000 members. Charlotte has led campaigns to improve active travel measures, affiliate Portsmouth City Council to the White Ribbon UK, and improve renters' rights. In recognition of her service to the community, Charlotte was awarded a Pomozzi Inspirational Women of Portsmouth Award. On being elected as Labour Councillor for Central Southsea, Charlotte is incredibly excited to support and serve the wonderful residents of the ward and fight for a greener, more sustainable and equal future for all of Portsmouth.
Good morning. My name is Matthew Atkins. I'm leader of the Conservative group. It gives me great pleasure, my Lord Mayor, to introduce Councillor John Smith. I may have adopted this city as my home, but it gives me, he is born and bred Pompey through and through. Most famously, he was head of branch of Knight and Lee, the John Lewis store in Southsea until its closure. He got involved in politics, driven by the outrage of seeing Councillor Stubbs cut up his John Lewis card live on Facebook. No, of course not. He got involved in politics because he saw firsthand the challenges posed to the high street and retail in our city, and he saw the opportunity to utilise his past experience to help the city grow and to serve the city he is so passionate about. In his business roles, he's worked closely with the council many times, and in his role as a magistrate, he has had another perspective on life within the city. He strongly believes our island has an exciting and vibrant future and can come through these tough times. In his personal life, John has always derived great enjoyment from anything to do with sport, most notably tennis, badminton, football and running. And as his new group leader, I can say that he hopes he will still have time for some of those things while serving on the council. Design and architecture are another passion of his, with emphasis on case study houses of the last century and buildings of a similar ilk. As a serious amateur architect with a good eye design, we have, of course, put him straight on the planning committee. He also loves cars. Most of all, he loves being on the beach. As a new councillor for Eastleigh and Craneswater, elected at the first attempt, John has never knowingly been underpolled. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Councillor John Smith.
Thank you, my Lord Mayor. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Stuart Brown, who comes from a military family and has just been elected as councillor for Fratton. Stuart's father served as an army officer. After several postings across Germany, the United States and the UK, Stuart ended up reading philosophy at the University of Birmingham. It was at Birmingham that his love for community activism took root, volunteering with the campus student advice group as a staff student rep on his course and as a member of student council. Student has been part of the Portsmouth Lib Dem family for nearly 7 years, having come to the city in January 2015 for a temporary work contract. He fell in love with the city and decided to make a life here. He lives in the heart of Fratton and is looking forward to using his skills and experience, both professionally and personally, to support and represent the residents of Fratton. Stuart Brown. Thank you, my Lord Mayor.
My Lord Mayor, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Councillor Daniel Weems, new councillor for Hilsey. Daniel is what is affectionately known as a Navy brat. As a result, he has lived in Portsmouth most of his life. His father served in the Royal Navy and his mother works in the NHS. Are you sure you're in the right party, Dan? No, of course he is. Daniel studied politics at the University of Westminster, where his interest in polity analysis and economics took hold. Daniel has a long history of serving the public, first as a customer care officer for the Sexual Health Service in London, and then as administrator for the Drug and Rehabilitation Service in Havant. In 2017, Daniel volunteered in Cambodia with the voluntary services overseas as a team leader for a microfinance initiative in Battambang province for 6 months. As a new Hilsey councillor, he describes the Cambodian landscape as spectacular, but it's no fox's forest. In all seriousness, he describes the experience as life-changing, and it cemented his passion for public service. After leaving the voluntary service overseas, Daniel came back to Portsmouth to read for a Master's in International Relations and European Studies. More recently, Daniel works as Penny Mordaunt MP's Communications Officer, where he utilises his talents in research and analysis to assist Penny's constituents and convey the work of government to residents. Outside of work, Daniel is a massive music and sports enthusiast. His favourite band is No Doubt. He adores Pompey and, through his mother, the Scottish national rugby team, much to the dissatisfaction of his stepfather. Daniel also volunteers for Solent Mind and New Foundations Community Chaplaincy. Our new councillor for Hilsey, appointed so that you can write to your councillor and your MP all in one go. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Daniel Williams.
Lord Mayor, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Kimberly Barrett to the City Council as the new councillor for Milton. Kimberly is fourth generation Miltonian, and with her sons, that's now 5 generations here in Milton. And she lives in Portsmouth Road with Tom, their 2 sons, Jacob and Noah, and the well-known sausage dog, Dexter. Kimberly created the Keep Milton Green Facebook group 7 years ago and has many, many thousands of followers. Kimberly obtained a degree in maritime archaeology at Bournemouth University after discovering her love for the Mary Rose and the military history that this city is so rich in. Kimberly's worked in the renewable energy industry for a number of years before having kids, so she has a great understanding and passion for all things green and to do with the environment. She's worked alongside community groups for the last 6 years and helped fight overdevelopment of the area, as well as helping residents with other issues and queries. Kimberly has always said that she will fight for residents to be heard and have a strong voice, and she's spoken out on behalf of residents against planning applications and supported them. She's also organised many community events in Milton across the city, the Milton Jumble Trail, the Halloween Trail, and the Christmas Lights Trail. So welcome, Kimberly, to the City Council. My Lord Mayor, I also rise to introduce not a Lib Dem, but an independent member of the City Council. It is many, many years since we've had an independent elected onto the City Council. I think Steve Weems would probably be the person who remembered them first, but maybe Lee, who's been on here for many, many years as well, will remember, but it's very rare. So, as leader of the council, I'm introducing Councillor George Madgwick. George is a local businessman who owns and operates a number of restaurants within Hampshire. During the 2020 COVID pandemic, he dedicated most of his time to feeding the homeless, helping the vulnerable and elderly, whilst keeping his business afloat. He's now brought in extra staff so he can focus a lot of his time on serving his community as Paul's Grove as a councillor. George comes from a very well-known local family. Everybody's heard of the Madgwicks, and comes from a travelling heritage. He grew up in Portsmouth and worked in the music industry, and I'm sure he'll bring great things to the City Council. Welcome, George. Now, going back to the slightly more traditional role as leader of the Lib Dem group, it's my job to introduce and welcome Ian Holder as the new Lib Dem councillor for St Thomas. Ian is an engineer by training. He works for Rolls-Royce. Before that, he worked for Marconi Defence Systems. He lives in the middle of his ward in Pembroke Park, and his family have been in Portsmouth for many generations. His daughters go to local schools, and his wife is a teacher and has been a huge support to him during the campaign and through life. So, Ian, welcome as the new Lib Dem councillor for St Thomas Ward.
Lord Mayor, I rise to introduce Councillor Kirsty Mellor to the Council. Kirsty Mellor's journey into politics came from turning her direct experience of domestic violence into a force for change and becoming a leading campaigner for properly funded support services in our city. Kirsty is incredibly inspiring as she's faced so many challenges herself, being a single mum and a survivor of domestic abuse. And yet, she gives so much of herself and her time to improving the lives of other people. Kirsty is selfless, community-focused, and seeks to empower other women and people who face difficulty and oppression. Kirsty has made a huge effort through many volunteering roles she has had and the impactful campaigns she's led. Kirsty is chair of the Portsmouth branch of Unite Community and campaigns around stopping universal credit to improving workers' rights and against cuts to vital benefits that provide a safety net for so many. Kirsty has led campaigns on violence against women and girls and was invited to Downing Street to hand in a petition calling for more punitive sentencing for perpetrators of domestic abuse. It was through her work in this area that Kirsty was nominated for the Emma Humphreys Memorial Award at the Justice for Women annual awards for her work in raising awareness around violence against women and children. More recently, Kirsty has been the recipient of a Pomodzi Inspirational Women of Portsmouth Award for her campaigning. Kirsty is proud to be one of the co-founders of the Portsmouth Coronavirus Support Group, which now has over 10,000 members, and has helped countless local people throughout the pandemic. Kirsty is also the founder of Pompey Against Universal Credit Group, which has provided advice and support to people struggling with the benefit system. Kirsty was also invited to Parliament to discuss the need for social reform with the Leader of the Opposition. Kirsty is very active with local domestic violence organisations and groups, raising awareness about domestic violence, the issues survivors face, and what the Council and Government can do to improve provision. It is in this vein that Kirsty was invited by the Council to help shape their domestic abuse services and campaigns. Kirsty has also supported the young women challenging sexism, misogyny, and sexual harassment at Project Catalyst. Kirsty has undertaken a role of important NHS roles, providing vital healthcare services to local people. Because of Kirsty's commitment to serving her community and city, when a call was put out by the NHS for health professionals to come forward to support with the COVID-19 vaccination programme, Kirsty completed her vaccination training and has been helping to vaccinate Pompey residents. Kirsty's achievements for Portsmouth are beyond incredible and impressive, but she has done all of this, as well as raising two lovely young men on her own. Kirsty's pride in her Scottish roots and her wonderful family, who loves her with all her heart to keep her grounded, as well as her mischievous streak that means more often than not she will be sharing much laughter with her family and friends. Kirsty's strength as a leader comes from her compassion for others, no matter where they hail from. Her life experiences have fueled her commitment to fight for social justice, for a better society and world. Kirsty is incredibly proud to be a Labour councillor for Charles Dickens Ward, to represent the area she lives in and loves, for the benefit of all the community, for the many and not the few. Thank you.
My Lord Mayor, it gives me great pleasure to introduce the last of our trio of new electees, Councillor Lewis Gosling. He was born at St Mary's Hospital and has lived in Portsmouth his whole life. He grew up in Copner and attended junior school there before moving on to Admiral Lord Nelson Secondary School. Following this, he completed A-levels at Portsmouth College in accounting, economics and ICT, where he showed a real aptitude for numbers and management. After leaving college, he was offered an apprenticeship role as an admin assistant in a large Portsmouth-based accounting and contracts consultancy called Liquid Friday. Coincidentally, Liquid Friday is also what Councillor Gosling calls his meal plan for the week. Excelling in his role, in 10 years he has gone from an apprentice admin assistant to head of group payroll, responsible for overseeing over 3,000 contractors a week based across the UK. So watch out, Portsmouth City Council. Councillor Gosling knows his stuff. Lewis is passionate about our city and has worked and volunteered with some amazing organisations over the years. He's worked with the America's Cup sailing events in the city, Food Cycle Portsmouth, a charity which aims to reduce food waste by providing free community meals, and the Cinnamon Trust, who tackle isolation by providing assistance to pet owners who are elderly or terminally ill to enable them to keep much-loved pets. Outside of work, Lewis is a passionate Pompey fan, having been a season ticket holder since 2002. A real Copner lad made good story. Once it was him smoking behind the College Park toilets, now he will be chasing the teenagers away. I am pleased to introduce our new Copner councillor, Lewis Gosling. And finally, Lord Mayor, I'll stay on my feet just to reintroduce and welcome back in a very short speech Councillor Ryan Brent, who has been on the council before and is introduced and known to you all, but is newly re-elected as our councillor for Drayton and Farlington. No long introduction needed. Councillor Ryan Brent.
Welcome to all the new councillors. I would also like to welcome dignitaries from our twin cities of Caen in France and Duisburg in Germany. We are delighted you are able to join us virtually. I would also like to welcome Mr. Andrew Kelly, representing Portsmouth, Rhode Island. I would now like to invite the Dean and Chaplain to the City Council, the Very Reverend Dr. Anthony Kane, to say prayers. Dean.
Thank you very much, Lord Mayor. Is this microphone on? Let us pray. God of life and peace, we lay down what is past and look to your future. Inspire and sustain us with a vision of a generous and hospitable city, which welcomes diversity and the use of our gifts in the service of others. We thank you for those who have served as councillors over the past year, especially those whose time in office has come to an end. And we pray for new members of the council and for the incoming Lord Mayor. We pray for wisdom in debate, decision and action, that the best ways may be found for this city to flourish and to thrive. In this and in all things, may heaven's light be our guide. Amen.
Thank you, Dean. All be seated. Fear not, I'm keeping this brief, unlike the many online council meetings I've had to chair. Members, honoured guests, everyone, it is so good to see and hear real people, and you are not in little rectangle boxes mouthing silently while some disembodied voice shouts, "Turn your mic on." Such is the Zoom or Teams reality that many of us have been reduced to. Last year was such a hard and torrid journey for all of us, and we are only just beginning to believe in the light we sense on the horizon. Just over a year ago, when the Lady Mayoress and I first agreed to take on the role as deputies, to shortly thereafter take on the roles of the Lord Mayor and Lady Mayoress of Portsmouth, we did not for a second imagine a year later we would only just be emerging to some sort of normality. Indeed, yesterday was the first time I was publicly able to use the Lord Mayor's parlour to present the previous year's Civic Awards to the invited guests, and we shared some well-worn jokes previously honed to flickering screens or sparsely socially distant groups like, in the future, we will only be recognised with our masks on, or I am the first Lord Mayor to be slimmer at the end than at the start. But let us put all that behind us and look positively forward to a brighter future, because we are thrilled and honoured to have served as Lord Mayor and Lady Mayoress of such a fine city like Portsmouth. Who wouldn't be? We have all shared, lived and breathed that same journey together, and we have all sought to help, encourage and comfort wherever we could by whatever means. Likewise, many of us in the city have shown great generosity of spirit, whether working tirelessly in frontline roles, caringly looking out for neighbours, or volunteering to help strangers. The strength of working together has rekindled our humanity and made us appreciate the things that really matter to us, like friends, families and loved ones, and puppies. There seems to be a lot of those around at present. We have also discovered the importance of our environments, whether working at home or taking those many exercise walks. The deserted streets gave us opportunity to find and enjoy the many street arts or just the simple pleasures of appreciating nature. Yes, these are difficult times that have left us changed, but the many green shoots of positivity from so many people give hope for the future, and we were grateful to say thank you on behalf of the city to those many deserving. So, Lord Mayor and Lady Mayoress-elect, we would report the city done well, and we hope we did our bit in doing the right thing on our watch to keep things shipshape, to hand over to you both and hopefully a brighter future. Finally, we would like to report we were unable to do any effective fundraising ourselves due to lack of events, but successfully helped many, many groups and people to promote, fundraise, or similar in their own right. However, yesterday, we were told out of the blue that our online Just Giving page had been tallied up and there was a windfall £738 in it, waiting to be dished out, the proverbial silver lining. It has been immediately distributed to some local charities. So thank you out there. Thank you, Portsmouth. Finally, I would like to thank the Lady Mayoress for supporting me this year in many, many ways. I would like to thank the Lord Mayor's office, officers, members, Lord Mayor and Lady Mayoress-elect, and the many people of Portsmouth for giving us their kindness and help. Thank you.
I now call upon Councillor Gerald Vernon-Jackson to propose a vote of thanks to the retiring Lord Mayor and Lady Mayoress.
Lord Mayor, Lady Mayoress, it falls to me to say a huge thank you to Rob and Debbie Wood for their time as Lord and Lady Mayoress. What to say? What a year. Instead of parades, visits, dinners, presentations, travelling across the city each day to recognise the work of volunteers and businesses, visiting the naval base to welcome home ships coming back from deployment, going to the Panto at the King's, games at Fratton Park, and meeting guests from around the world, and visiting our twin cities to build international understanding, what have Rob and Debbie had to do? I've looked through the Lord Mayor's diary sheets for last year and this year, and the contrast couldn't be greater. Where David Fuller was off to 5 events a day, Rob and Debbie have had a Zoom call, a visit to a business, conferences on Zoom, and meet a few socially distanced people. So no Navy, no royal visits, no twin towns, no parades. So it could be that Rob and Debbie didn't make an impact in their year of office. But nothing is further from the truth. This has been the lockdown morality, and Rob and Debbie have led by example. They've led the city in a graceful, kind and restrained way, at socially distanced events at the Cenotaph, Commonwealth Day flag raising by the Civic, the Falklands flag raising at the Square Tower, participating in conferences by Zoom. Rob, as Lord Mayor, has carried out his duties as Lord Mayor with sensitivity, grace and passion, ably assisted by Debbie in all things. So it gives me great pleasure to formally move, and I now have some formal words I have to say, and I propose that the Council place on record its sincere thanks to Councillor Rob Wood and Mrs Deborah Wood for their outstanding service to the City as Lord Mayor and Lady Mayoress during this year of office. That the Council expresses its great appreciation of the fine qualities which Councillor Rob Wood brought to the conduct of the business of the Council and his devotion to duty in what has been a particularly difficult year. The Council also places on record its thanks to Mrs Deborah Wood for the untiring support and help that she's given as Lady Mayoress to the Lord Mayor. And this resolution is engrossed and presented to Councillor Rob Wood and Mrs Debbie Wood at this ceremony. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Vernon-Jackson. Councillor Matthew Adkins, do you second this proposal?
I wish to add my thanks on behalf of the Council to the retiring Lord Mayor, Rob Wood. From the outset, he has shown strong mayoral qualities, a warm smile, good humour, an approachable and easygoing manner, and I think that everyone who has met him this year has seen that throughout his activities. He's been a strong and honourable presence in the Chamber, even-handed, even when certain difficult councillors have been making standing order objections. I think you've achieved a great deal, despite the difficulties during COVID. You've been a unity figure, and despite cancellations, you've been visible and you've been active. You've attended many events alone, online or socially distanced with reduced numbers, and that has kept our traditions and our sense of civic pride and civic ceremonies going in a challenging and difficult environment. I also want to second Councillor Vernon Jackson's thanks to the Lady Mayoress, Mrs Deborah Wood, for her unwavering support, because we all know the impact that being Lord Mayor can have on family life, and so we want to thank her for her enormous contribution and her sacrifice for the sake of the city. So I want to offer my congratulations to the Lord Mayor and the Lady Mayoress for an excellent year of service and for the exemplary performance of their duties, and so I'm more than happy to second Councillor Vernon Jackson's motion.
Members, you have heard the proposition moved by Councillor Vernon Jackson and seconded by Councillor Atkins. All those in favour, please stand. The proposition is carried. Please be seated. I will now take the opportunity of asking the retiring Lord Mayor appreciation of his time in office, and also a gold miniature replica of the Lord Mayor's badge, which it is traditional to present, and one which the retiring Lord Mayor will have the honour to wear on special occasions.
Not sure there's room.
I now invite the retiring Lady Mayoress, Mrs Deborah Wood, to step forward to collect her replica of the Lady Mayoress's badge.
The first item on the agenda is the election of the new Lord Mayor for the municipal year 2021-2022. I call upon Councillor Simon Bowshire.
Thank you very much, Lord Mayor. Lord Mayor, Councillor Frank Jonas, BEM, is a Pompey boy. He was born in Milton and has lived in Hilsey since 1980, the ward he has represented since 2006. Now, Lord Mayor, there may be some among us today who are not particularly familiar with Frank the person. And as Frank does not have right of reply and there's no Standing Order 39B, I will take this opportunity to enlighten you. Until he retired, Frank owned Hilsey Hardware, one of those fabulous hardware emporiums where you could get anything you needed for your DIY requirements. And in an era where big corporations have squeezed out the independent businesses, Frank bucked that trend. B&Q at Hilsey clearly could not compete and shut down to become a Lidl. Frank is also a renowned IT expert. His knowledge of cloud-based technology is second to none. That's provided that the weather is decent and there is a window nearby. Now, while most of us have iPhones or Samsung smartphones, Frank's phone is made by Caterpillar. That's the heavy plant manufacturers, not the larval stage of a butterfly. Now, Frank would describe his mobile phone as indestructible, and to this day, the battery has never needed recharging, largely because it is rarely actually switched on. Carrier pigeon is probably the best way to contact him on a day-to-day basis. Now, at the start of his first tenure as Lord Mayor back in 2012, and it is probably very apt, considering you have lost weight during your year, Lord Mayor, Mike Hancock bet Frank £100 for his Lord Mayor's charity that he would put on weight during that year. The majority of Lord Mayors actually do. Now, this is a bet that Frank happily accepted, and Frank actually won that bet. He actually lost weight. But unbeknownst to Mike Hancock, Frank had been somewhat economical with his true weight. And I still don't know, and perhaps Frank can enlighten us, as to whether Mike actually paid up that bet or not. There seemed to be a nod there. Now, outside of council and his community, Frank's passions are motorcycles. He's a frequent visitor to the Isle of Man TT races, and he has owned 35 motorcycles since the age of 16. He still owns and is very proud of a 1948 BSA 500 in its original factory condition. Now, Frank has that inbuilt ability to mix with all walks of life. I had the privilege of attending the Royal Naval Dinner with Frank during his first term as Lord Mayor. And to set the scene, it was a black tie event with some extremely senior officers of the Royal Navy, including the First Sea Lord, who was present wearing a sash. Now, unfortunately, Frank mistook him for a wine waiter. Cue several awkward glances from some of the officers present. However, with Frank's humour and easygoing style, they were soon on first-name terms, with the First Sea Lord taking on his role as wine waiter and insisting on topping up Frank's glass at every opportunity. In 2017, Frank was actually recognised in the Queen's Birthday Honours List and awarded the British Empire Medal. Now, some might say that's because he's had Donna Jones and Scott Pater Harris as ward colleagues in Hilsey. I couldn't possibly comment on that. But actually, it was deservedly for services to the local community and his support for our armed services. And in 2019, in a news poll of Portsmouth's greatest ever residents, Frank was placed at number 7, one place below Arnold Schwarzenegger. Lord Mayor, to us, in our group, he's Uncle Frank. He's easygoing, he's laid back, and has a cheerful sense of humour. Frank is one of those gentlemen of honesty and integrity, and one of those rare breeds in the chamber who is universally liked by members from across the political spectrum. Although he's not the most outspoken of councillors in the chamber, when Frank does stand to speak, his comments are listened to, and they are appreciated. Lord Mayor, it is my privilege to formally propose that Councillor Frank Jonas be Lord Mayor for the forthcoming municipal year. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bosher. Councillor Peter Harris, do you formally second this nomination?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I formally second Councillor Frank Jonas to be Lord Mayor.
Councillor Frank Jonas's name has been proposed and seconded. Are there any other nominations? Then I will ask the members of the council to vote in the traditional way by standing. All those in favour? Thank you. Those against? It's unanimous. I declare Councillor Frank Jonas to be elected Lord Mayor of the City of Portsmouth for the ensuing municipal year.
I, Frank Jonas, having been elected to the office of Lord Mayor of the City of Portsmouth, declare that I take the office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of Lord Mayor, according to the best of my judgment and ability. I undertake to observe the code as to the conduct of members, which is expected of members of the Portsmouth City Council. Well, members, councillors, I'd like to thank you all for voting me to be the next the Lord Mayor. And to avoid any confusion, which it must appear to some of you when you look on the stage, of seeing two Lord Mayors. Well, obviously, one is fit, athletic, good-looking, and the other isn't. I'll leave it up to you to decide who's who. To follow Rob's quite an honour because I have shadowed him throughout the year. We've been in contact weekly to see if there's anything I can do to help him with, and he's been very gracious in all his invites for me to attend the very few functions that he's been able to attend. As he said, this past year has been a very difficult one for charities. So if any money can be raised by me this year, it will be going to the Portsmouth Hive, because I feel that this charity still has a lot of legs in it and a lot of work to do. And I thank everyone for that. The leader of the council said that, that marriages can be put under strain for the Lord Mayors. Well, I've not found this. My lady wife has not left me, but my sister is going to help me for the coming year, which I'm very grateful for. There's not really a lot to say because I just hope that things can get back to some normality and that we as a council can lead the city and show the city that we're doing this. We're there for them. If they want to speak to the ward, your ward, the people in your ward, they will do so, and we will get on with things. The city's got to reopen. We're the leaders, the local leaders, and we've got to show that we can do it. As and when the city opens up, hopefully I shall visit anyone that requires a visit from the Lord Mayor. And this message goes out to all the members, so regardless of party, I will be there for you and your wards. I don't know you much longer. I've got to live, actually, so I'm just pleased to be here today. I've had my 2 vaccinations. I'm prepared for anything. So I know that sounds a bit like I'm all right, Jack, pull the ladder up. I'm not asking any councillors to hug and kiss me. I look at Councillor Smith in that respect. But if anyone does fancy it, feel free. And it's just nice to be back here. Again, I thank the outgoing Lord Mayor for his courtesy and his consideration from this year. It's been a torrid year, and we've just got to get things moving and make things better for the people of Portsmouth. Thank you very much, members.
Supporting the Lord Mayor in carrying out his official duties during the municipal year will be the Lady Mayoress, Mrs. Joy Maddox, who will now subscribe a document undertaking to support the Lord Mayor in carrying out his official duties.
The next item on the agenda is the appointment of the Deputy Lord Mayor, and I call upon Councillor Gerald Vernon Jackson.
My Lord Mayor, I'm very happy to propose Councillor Rob Wood to be Deputy Lord Mayor, partly so that we don't have to swap people on the stage, but partly to recognise that Rob and Debbie have had a very unusual year as Lord Mayor during lockdown, and to hope that they can have another year to be able to do things in a more traditional way. So, my Lord Mayor, I'm very happy to propose Councillor Rob Wood to be Deputy Lord Mayor and Mrs Debbie Wood to be Deputy Lady Mayoress. Thank you, my Lord Mayor.
Yes, Lord Mayor, I will happily second this nomination. Having already had one speech, I think I've run out of all my nice things to say about Council. Not at all. There are many more to come, and I wish him all the best for a full and normal year as Lord Mayor next year. So I'm happy to second the motion.
Thank you both. Councillor Rob Wood's nomination has been proposed and seconded. Are there any other nominations? Then I will now ask the members of the council to vote in the traditional way by standing. All those in favour? Thank you. All those against? Thank you. I declare Councillor Rob Wood to be the elected Deputy Lord Mayor of Portsmouth for the ensuing municipal year.
The Deputy Lord Mayor will now make and subscribe the Declaration of Acceptance of Office, which will be witnessed by the City Solicitor.
I, Rob Wood, having been elected to the office of Deputy Lord Mayor of the City of Portsmouth, declare that I take that office upon myself and will dutifully and faithfully fulfil the duties of Deputy Lord Mayor according to the best of my judgment and ability, and I undertake to observe the code as to the conduct of members which is expected of members of Portsmouth City Council.
I hope you're all keeping up with this. Supporting the Deputy Lord Mayor in carrying out their official duties during the municipal year will be the Deputy Lord Mayor's consort, Mrs Deborah Wood, who will now subscribe a document undertaking to support the Deputy Lord Mayor in carrying out his official duties.
I have great pleasure in appointing the Dean of Portsmouth, the Very Reverend Anthony Kane, and the Reverend Tracy Ansell of North End Baptist Church as chaplains to the City Council. In so doing, I would wish to thank you both for the part you play in the city's life. It now gives me great pleasure to present Portsmouth City Council's Civic Awards. This year, the Civic Awards focus on those who have significantly contributed to the city during the coronavirus pandemic. Nominations for these awards were considered by a panel comprising a representative from public health, a local faith group leader, and representatives of the business and community sectors, as well as a cross-party of councillors. The awards are given to members of the community who have made an outstanding contribution to the life of the city. Some are already well known in Portsmouth, while others have made a quieter but nonetheless significant contribution. As we will hear, recipients this year have gone above and beyond their usual job or volunteering role to support vulnerable members of society, those who have caught coronavirus, or to keep critical services going. After I've read each citation, I would like to invite the recipients to step forward and collect their certificate and badge from the table. The first Coronavirus Civic Award recipient is Ashgar Shah for outstanding voluntary work during the COVID-19 pandemic, personally providing countless services, encouraging others to support the most vulnerable in the city, dispelling information and making a significant difference to the well-being of fellow citizens. Fiona Lowe, for the selfless and generous giving of her time to hand sew over 1,800 cloth masks for use by the community, healthcare workers and homeless at their time of need during the COVID-19 pandemic. St Margaret's Community Church Food Bank, for the tremendous amount of work the team at St Margaret's Church has undertaken organising the growth and expansion of their food bank in order to provide a high level of support to the vulnerable members of the Portsmouth community for vision, commitment, dedication and selflessness. Jackie Peters for outstanding dedication, selflessness and passion in support of the work of Portsmouth Food Bank, helping the most vulnerable in the city during the COVID-19 pandemic. Jeanette Warren for organising the cooking, transportation and delivery of nutritious food to the vulnerable and self-isolating throughout the community during the COVID-19 pandemic, for her hard work, dedication, selflessness and kindness at such a difficult time. The mortuary team at QA Hospital, in recognition of the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on this small team, with the implications of the significant increase in deaths, for the team's tireless work at such a very difficult time for the city. The Duke of Buckingham pub. I could stop there really, couldn't I? For significant contribution to the well-being and protection of citizens in Portsmouth during the COVID-19 pandemic by providing over 50,000 nutritious meals for the elderly, vulnerable and those self-isolating. Tina Moth for her work on Spinnaker Ward, St Mary's Hospital, for her kindness and generosity, both materially and in spirit, to patients on the ward during the COVID-19 pandemic, when they could receive no visitors during such a difficult and frightening time. Pompey in the community for significant support to the most vulnerable within the community by developing and organising a system to purchase, store and deliver food to those in need throughout the city for the team's kindness, compassion and selflessness. You're going to stay there for the youth. Thank you. Congratulations to all the recipients and thank you for the significant part you have played in the city during this pandemic. Thank you all. The Youth Civic Award. Now gives me great pleasure to present the Youth Civic Award. The Youth Civic Award seeks to recognise the work that young people undertake and their contribution to society as a whole. This year, the Youth Civic Award also seeks to recognise extraordinary lengths a young person has gone to support the most vulnerable members of society and those who have caught coronavirus. The Youth Coronavirus Civic Award is presented to Jordan O'Sullivan for work in the care sector during the COVID-19 pandemic, for her compassion for those in her care and support to the families and friends, for her tireless determination, selflessness and its standing level of caregiving. I would like to invite Jordan to step forward and collect her very well-deserved award. Members, that concludes the first part of the meeting. I would like to invite those guests not involved in the second part of the council meeting to leave if they wish to do so. Members, we will adjourn for 10 minutes. Event staff will facilitate the exit of the main hall. Please remain in your seats and wait for direction. Thank you. Members, next item on the agenda is our Agenda 3, Declarations of Interest. Are there any declarations of interest? The minutes, please, from the previous meeting. Could I ask Councillor Vernon Jackson to propose that the minutes of the extraordinary and ordinary meetings held on the 16th of March 2021 be confirmed and signed as a correct record?
Thank you, my Lord Mayor. Very happy to move them.
Does Councillor Atkins second the proposal?
Yes, so seconded, Lord Mayor.
Any objections? If not, the minutes are agreed by assent. Thank you, members. Communications and apologies. First of all, I've had apologies from Councillor Gemma New. She is poorly, therefore won't be attending the meeting. The other thing is the new members. If I get your names wrong, please let me know as soon as possible. Thank you. As notified to all members last month, it was very sad to hear of the passing of Frank Judge, Baron Judd of Portsea, on the 17th of April. Frank was born in Sutton, Surrey in 1935. He became a Member of Parliament in 1966. At this time, I can say that I was a dockyard apprentice, remembering Frank standing outside the gates of the dockyard base, as it was then called, urging us all over 18 to vote for him. And he beat Brigadier, I forget his surname, but anyway, he's a well-known Conservative, beat him and then entered Parliament. After gaining Portsmouth West for Labour, in 1974 he stood for the new seat of Portsmouth North after Portsmouth West had been abolished. He went on to serve Portsmouth North until 1979. He was made a life peer on the 10th of June 1991 with the title Baron Judd of Portsea in the county of Hampshire. In 1995, he became a freeman of the city of Portsmouth. Our thoughts are with his family at this sad time. Congratulations to Councillor Atkins and Councillor Brent for becoming leader and deputy leader, respectively, of the Conservative group. Also, congratulations to Councillor Horton for becoming deputy leader of the Liberal Democrat group. Item 6 is deputations. There have been no deputations for this meeting. The next item concerns the leader of the council. I've been notified of the intention of Councillor Atkins to submit and move a written notice of motion of no confidence in the current leader under the Local Government and Public Involvement in Health Act 2007 and the provision relating to the removal from office by resolution. In order for it to be put, we require the suspension of Standing Order 32 in respect of notice. Leader.
My Lord Mayor, I'm very happy to move the suspension of standing orders. I don't think anybody should keep the job as leader of the council on a technicality. We should have a free and open debate.
Thank you. So is that proposal seconded?
Happy to second the proposal for the suspension of standing orders, Lord Mayor.
Everyone agreeable? Right. Motion is the motion of no confidence in the council leader proposed by Councillor Atkins, seconded by Councillor Brent. If so, I will arrange for it now to be circulated. I now call upon the proposer, Councillor Atkins, to present and speak to his motion. Yes, go on. Thank you.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I will speak briefly while it is being circulated. I don't intend to give a long speech. I think that there has been an election in which the Conservative Party received the largest share of the votes, went up by 1 seat, and in which we are now the largest party in the chamber. I think it's correct that the council express a view on who should be leader for the coming municipal year. There are differences between the Liberal Democrats and the Conservatives over the way the council should proceed, particularly on issues like council tax, on traffic schemes, on certain housing developments around the city. And so I think it is correct that the council express a view. We have pledged to the city that if we were in administration, we would freeze council tax this year, and we would seek to continue that pledge by rebating council tax for the initial year if we take administration. And we think that alone is sufficient reason to call for a vote of no confidence in the leader, Gerald Vernon Jackson. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any amendments to... Oh, sorry. Is that seconded, please?
Seconded, Lord Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any amendments to this motion which will need to be proposed and seconded and circulated? Right, the matter is now before the council to debate. Leader.
Thank you. Let me take this off. Thank you, my Lord Mayor. First, can I put on record my thanks to all councillors from all parties who are no longer serving this council. Their contribution to the life of the city has been huge, and my thanks to all of them. I'd particularly like to thank Donna Jones and Stephen Morgan as former group leaders here, and I'm sure we wish them well in their continuing work for the city. The election results in Portsmouth are clear. The Lib Dems won the most seats in the election with 6 seats, the Conservatives with 5, Labour with 2, and George Madgett won in Portsmouth, Paulsgrove as an independent. I'd also like to thank Councillor Matthew Atkins, the new Conservative leader, for putting down this vote of confidence. He's right. There's a choice to be made. We can either have a Lib Dem-led city or a Conservative-led city. And we in this council need to make that clear choice. Councillor Atkins is right that there are differences of vision of how the city should move forward between a Conservative vision and a Lib Dem vision. The differences are clear, but I just want to highlight a few of them. First, climate change and the climate emergency. This is at the front and centre of what a Lib Dem administration will do. In power, we have made a start, stopping people choosing between heating and eating, helping more of them install solar panels, making Portsmouth Britain's first carbon-neutral port, electrical charging points, expanding what people can recycle, and a commitment to go further. An anaerobic digester, promoting walking and cycling. If the Lib Dems are running the city, we have announced we will create a new cross-cutting cabinet position to concentrate on climate change and the green recovery across the whole council. But this is not all. With the Lib Dems running the City Council finances prudently, it's meant that the City Council has withstood the ravages of COVID, but also come in with a £3 million underspend. Again, and our commitment is not only to pay the real living wage to our employees, but also to working for those working for the council through contractors as well. During the pandemic, the Lib Dems run council managed to secure places for people who are homeless to stay and have now made them permanent. All parties try to run the City Council finances well, but there are real areas of disagreement between a Lib Dem-led city and a Conservative-led city. And I'll highlight a few of these. In the council budget meeting, both Conservative and Labour councillors voted against an investment of £3.5 million in classrooms in Portsmouth schools for children with special educational needs. They also voted against £2.8 million extra for adult social care to support vulnerable people in their own homes. Luckily, a few councillors abstained, and the PPP councillors supported us in getting the budget through, protecting local children in need and low-paid carers who would have lost their jobs. I completely accept the assurance from the Labour councillors that they voted against protecting children and low-paid workers for very different reasons from the Conservatives. But thank goodness the Lib Dems and the PPP councillors had the courage to stand up for the needs of children with special educational needs and for the many low-paid care workers who would have lost their jobs because of the actions of these other councillors. But, my Lord Mayor, there's much more, in my view, that should scare us about a Conservative-led city. Remember the let-them-eat-cake approach Councillor Atkins and other Conservatives adopted in last March's discussion on everybody having the right to have food. Contrast that with the Lib Dem administration stepping in where the Tory government has failed and providing food vouchers for children on low incomes. We will also do this again for the May half-term. Lib Dems have helped families on low incomes. The Tories tend to just blame them. Remember their pleasure now, pain later council tax bribe offered by Conservatives, which came from selling council house land earmarked to take over 100 families off our council house waiting list. Furthermore, it would have seen council tenants, often the poorest in the community, pay £157,000 interest from their interest forever to pay off the mortgage on the land sold to pay for this election bribe. A Tory Portsmouth is pay the well-off, saddle the poor with debt, and deprive local families of a home. This is no surprise. Remember, this is the party that believed in moving council tenants from their homes in Somerstown for their own safety was a waste of money. On the debate on LGBTQ champions, Councillor Atkins voted against this idea. Our vision is for an inclusive community where people from all races, religions, genders, sexuality and disability feel valued and respected. So, my Lord Mayor, there is a clear choice. Either councillors can back the Conservatives with their record for attacking families on low incomes, their record of failing to support the LGBTQ+ community, and their choice of tax bribes over social housing. Or they can choose a Lib Dem-run city that puts climate change at the centre of our work, who wants a city where everyone is respected, where children with special needs, the elderly and frail get the services they need, and where we are prepared to invest in social housing. It's not a choice where I feel people can have no view and abstain. Either we have a forward-looking and inclusive city, or we let Matthew Atkins and the Conservatives take us backwards. Thank you, my Lord Mayor.
Are there any other speakers? Councillor Atkins to sum up, please.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Again, I will try and keep this brief. A Conservative vision for Portsmouth is a vision of a city where people are free to live their own lives in the way that they choose. They're free to keep their own money, to spend on their own priorities, where they have smooth links around the city for transport, where they have a city that is making the most of the opportunities of Brexit and the economic growth that is forecast to come in the next year or so. And this Conservative vision is a vision that I believe can only be delivered by the Conservative Party, working closely with central government that has provided tens of millions of pounds to Portsmouth City over the last year, which is the substantial reason why the city finances were able to hold up so well. We believe that a Conservative administration can work to obtain far greater funding from the central government and for developing the city rather than losing key developers such as those responsible for the city centre redevelopment, rather than losing key sponsors such as those who sponsored the Spinnaker Tower. We believe that the Conservatives are the only group which can manage the city's finances in a way which delivers all the current services as efficiently as possible, but also finds room and time to work on the development of the city and take advantage of economic growth, prosperity that is coming in the future, and also the city's great opportunities to develop its tourism infrastructure and its popularity as a destination city. Don't let's forget the Liberal Democrats, in their focus on building of tower blocks, ignored the possibilities of a Sherlock Holmes museum in a key location in the city. Yes, we plan to sell a piece of land to rebate council tax. That piece of land is outside of the city and has no current development plans on it. So we believe that that was the responsible thing to do in the wake of the COVID pandemic in order to properly allow people to recover and to not overburden them with taxation at a time when people are already financially vulnerable. On climate change, we have voted for largely all of the motions that have been placed down in City Council, including that declaring a climate emergency, and we have one of the greenest governments in British history, and the Conservatives in administration in Portsmouth would be no different. On social housing, we have agreed to many plans, and while in administration, we built hundreds of social houses, far more than the current Liberal Democrat administration have yet achieved. So, altogether, Lord Mayor, our differences are not that far on supporting the people of Portsmouth. Our differences on climate are not that far. Our differences are on ambition for the city. Our differences are on sound financial management, and our differences this year particularly around that council tax issue. But we do believe that we are the party to take this city forward, that we are the party that have that ambition, that have that drive, that have that financial management skill, and we believe that this chamber should make the most of the talents that lie within the Conservative group, should follow the will of the people of Portsmouth in the most recent local elections, and should put the Conservatives in charge of the administration. And therefore, I still move my vote of no confidence in the leader, Gerald Vernon Jackson. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe we now go to the vote.
We now go to vote. Those in favour of the no confidence motion.
Right.
Proposal.
Are we going to have to stand or are we going to put hands up?
Hands up is the normal tradition unless someone triggers.
Okay.
So by hand.
So by hand raising, as tradition goes, those that support the motion, please show.
Lord Mayor.
Thank you. Those against?
Lord Mayor. So the no confidence motion has been lost.
So as the motion is lost, it's the end of the matter and Councillor Vernon Jackson continues as leader. 9. I don't think it's got a number. The next item concerns cabinet appointments. Members, under the previously mentioned Act, the council leader is empowered to determine the councillors on the cabinet and assign portfolios and portfolio remits, and to select one of the appointed members to the position of deputy leader. I now call upon the leader of the council to give details of their cabinet arrangements. Leader, please.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and my thank you to the council for that vote. Ladies and gentlemen, the cabinet, as I propose them, is as follows: myself as leader, Susie Horton as deputy leader with responsibility with a portfolio of children, families and education, Kimberly Barrett to have responsibility for climate change and the green recovery, Lynn Stagg to have responsibility for traffic and transportation, Ben Dowling to have responsibility for culture, leisure and economic development, Dave Ashmore to have responsibility for community safety and the environment, Jason Fazackley to have responsibility for health, wellbeing and social care, Darren Sanders to have responsibility for housing and preventing homelessness, Hugh Mason to have responsibility for planning, policy and city development, and finally, Chris Atwell to have responsibility for communities and central services, and my thanks to them all for the work that I know they'll put in.
That item is duly noted. Items 9 to 14, in accordance with normal practice, I propose to take agenda items 9 to 14 together, namely proportional representation on committees, details previously circulated, and panels, and the appointment of members of standing deputies, chairs and vice chairs, and other appointments. Is it agreed to take these items together? Thank you. The leader of the council has put forward recommendations re committee seats allocation in accordance with political proportionality, as referred to in agenda item 9, together with the names of the group members proposed to fill the positions, all as shown on the papers circulated in the chamber today. The schedule circulated also contains the name of those members from the other groups filling the requisite remaining seats on the respective bodies. There are a number of contested positions which the council will need to take separate votes at the end. Could I ask the leader to so propose, followed by their seconder, in order to adopt the overall political balance and allocation of seats schedule circulated, and that if it's approved, to agree the membership of the committees and panels, include standing deputies, chairs and vice chairs of committees and panels, and other appointments detailed at agenda items 13 and 14. Also circulated at the meeting, based thereon, the outcome of the contested positions will be incorporated at the end.
Lord Mayor, I'm happy to propose that. Can I do 2 quick amendments to the list, my Lord Mayor, as I'm on my feet? My understanding from Councillor Lynn Stagg is that she is a top-up member on the Police and Crime Panel, and therefore she's withdrawing her nomination to be deputy on that. So that nomination goes. And on the Planning Committee, there is nobody down as Vice Chair, and so I'm proposing Councillor Chris Atwell to be Vice Chair.
Noted. We move to...
The leader has moved. Councillor Atkins down as seconder.
Yes, Stuart, I'm happy to second it, but having observed the lack of a vice chair on planning committee, can I propose Councillor Robert New as vice chair of planning committee?
Okay, so that would be a contest in addition.
Okay. I'll move it on to what then?
We'll do that. I'll add that to your list of contests at the end, Lord Mayor. So
Okay, so next.
it's been seconded now, so if you move to the next stage of the document. So there's no amendments. It's really just anyone wants to debate it, otherwise sum up and then we'll go to the votes.
Where am I on this?
Page 12, Lord Mayor.
Yeah.
There's no amendments at the top.
The matter is now before members if debate is required.
Assuming it isn't.
We will now go to the vote dealing with the contested positions.
Just ask if the leader wishes to sum up. I'm assuming it won't.
Don't want to sum up.
Very happy not to speak.
So we are going straight to the vote on these.
You're now going to deal with the contested positions which were set out on the papers, Lord Mayor, identified in red.
Okay. Hampshire and Isle of Wight Fire Authority.
As you can see, that's contested, Lord Mayor. Two councillors interested in that position.
Yes, the two councillors involved, Councillor Jason Fazakerley and Councillor Terry Norton.
So you now need to put it to the vote. Those in favour of Councillor Zachary and then Councillor Norton, and the one with the larger number of votes
Okay.
gets to be the post holder.
On the advice of the, I will now put it to the vote. Those in favour of Councillor Jason Fazakerley, please show by hands.
Three, Lord Mayor.
And those for Councillor Terry Norton, show by hands, please.
Lord Mayor.
In that case, Councillor Jason.
Just a minute, Lord.
Councillor Madrick may have
I
voted.
did include that. So, yes, sorry, Lord Mayor.
Therefore, Councillor Jason Fazakerley is our representative on the Hampshire Fire Authority. As regards the Police and Crime Panel deputy role,
You only have two contestants for that now, Lord Mayor, because Councillor Stagg actually leaves.
and the deputy role nominations are Councillor Kirsty Miller and Councillor Hannah Hockaday. We will now take a vote. Those in favour of Councillor Kirsty Miller, please raise their hands.
Lord Mayor.
Those in favour of Councillor Hockaday, raise their hands, please.
That's 14, Lord Mayor. So,
In that case, Councillor Kirsty Miller is the deputy. As regards the independent seat on the licensing committee, is this right?
that's correct, Lord Mayor.
Those in favour of Councillor Madrick being on the licensing committee. Those in favour of Councillor, we'll stop there. Those in favour of Councillor Madrick being on the licensing committee, please raise their hands.
Lord Mayor.
Those in favour of Councillor Symes being on the licensing committee, please raise their hands.
Lord Mayor.
Therefore, Councillor Madrick does the independent seat on the licensing. And is this correct? The other one goes automatically.
Automatically onto scrutiny management panel, Lord Mayor.
So Councillor Linda Symes automatically goes onto the scrutiny management panel. As regards the chair of the scrutiny management panel, Those in favour of Councillor Stuart Brown being the panel chair, please raise their hands.
Lord Mayor.
Those in favour of Councillor Bosher being in the panel chair.
Lord Mayor.
The chair position goes to Councillor Simon Bosher. As regards the chair of the Housing and Social Care Scrutiny Panel,
Lord Mayor, we withdraw our nomination for the chair of housing. Cal Corkery could be chair of that.
in that case, the chair position goes to Councillor Corkery. Is that all right?
Yes, no contest. Yeah, that's right.
Having determined the contested
Sorry,
position...
Lord Mayor, we now have that planning committee vice chair contest that was mentioned earlier. If you recall, it's not in your script because it was identified during the meeting.
In that case,
So, if you recall, just at the outset, under planning, we have Councillor Atwell and Councillor Robert New both have expressed an interest in being vice chair.
all right, you heard that to members. The position of vice chair on the planning is between Councillor Robert New and Councillor Chris Atwell. We'll take a vote. Those in favour of Councillor Chris Atwell, please raise their hands.
Lord Mayor.
And those in favour of Councillor Robert New, please raise their hands.
Lord Mayor.
In that case, Councillor Atwell will be the vice chair of planning. Having determined the contested positions, we will now take vote of the leader's proposal as circulated, incorporate the outcome of the contested position votes. Those in favour?
Yes, just to be clear, everyone, that's the proposal that the leader and Councillor Atkins seconded, incorporating all the contested decisions that you've just made. So that's what members are being asked to vote on now.
Thank you, members. My fault for not making it clear.
Sorry, any against? Unanimous, Lord Mayor.
Unanimous, yeah. Did we go through this bit?
Yes, you've dealt with that, Lord Mayor, so you're now on the
Page?
page 17.
Under item 15, there is no urgent and important business from members of the Cabinet in accordance with Standing Order 26. That leaves the dates for the City Council meetings. Members, can I please request approval of the list of dates and times for council meetings for the next municipal year, and in principle agreement to the dates of the council meetings for 2022 to 22-23. A proposal from Councillor Vernon Jackson with Councillor Atkins as seconder has been previously circulated. Are there any objections?
Could Councillor Vernon Jackson formally move that, Lord Mayor?
Can, yes.
Happily formally move it.
Then that is
Formally
passed.
seconded.
Oh, Councillor Atkins, yes.
Formally seconded.
Thank you, Councillor. We'll take that as written. Well, you'll all be pleased to know, some more than others. Thank you, members. That concludes today's meeting. Event staff will facilitate the exit of the main hall. Please remain in your seats and wait for directions. And I look forward to seeing you again in the near future. Thank you.